Okay guys, thanks for checking out my channel again. If you haven't already liked, shared or subscribed, make sure you do. So for today's video, my plan to see what gold recovery materials I can get, I'm going to be taking apart a car stereo. So we'll just see if there's anything worth for gold recovery materials inside. See if there's any gold contacts, any gold connectors, any gold flashing, stuff like that. So we'll do that in a second. I'm just going to put a bit of light on to try and brighten it up a small bit. Okay, so just make it a little bit brighter. So we'll start off by taking out some screws as usual. So if you haven't already become a subscriber to my channel, please do. The more subscribers I get, hopefully we get more information. Other people that are taking stuff apart, see what they're getting out of different items. We can learn together, as I say. Share the information. Someone might have already taken apart something. They might see, so it might tell me which is a better car stereo and stuff like that to be taken apart for gold recovery. A few of my upcoming videos will be more just general scrapping for copper, further materials, because I just don't scrap for gold recovery. I scrap for copper, I scrap for other aluminium, stuff like that. But my first few videos have been just really on the gold recovery side of it. But I kind of have enough material now gathered up from the gold recovery to maybe start actually recovering the gold and refining the gold. But I'm waiting for the weather to improve, because when you're working with acids, a lot of the time it's better to do it outdoors. Because I don't have a fume hood at the moment. I'm working on a fume hood for an indoor shed location. So until I have that fume hood done, it'll have to be done outside. So again, I'm waiting for the weather to improve before I do that. It's still too cold to be doing that outdoors. So once I get that done, once the weather improves, I'll be doing more of back to the gold refining more than recovery. So gather more than getting the materials. I'll be doing actual refined videos where I'll be seeing what gold is in certain things once we get it done. So until then, I might do a few videos just on general scrap and maybe take vacuum cleaners for copper, TVs, radios, stereos, big stereo systems, stuff like that, to show you what other stuff I gather up to make a bit of extra cash. So from aluminium and stuff like that. And I hope to maybe later in the year get a little furnace going so I can make ingots. So we'll make copper ingots and maybe aluminium ones. So we can do some videos on that. Let me see. So there's a lot of screws on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause it while I remove all the screws, and we'll come back when I have all the screws removed. Okay, so I've removed as many of the screws as I can see. So it's a nice little pile of screws there. I'll put them to one side. I'm sure there's more screws as we go along we'll come across. So first off, got a nice little chunk of aluminium. So that's a nice little chunk of aluminium there. Some cooling paste there. So hopefully there's some nice chips when there's got some cooling paste on it, side of it, to try and disperse heat and stuff like that. There should be hopefully something nice in there. Just two little steel brackets that we're holding on here. So now I just have to have a look around and see where do we start from. So there's a few clips underneath here, holding that plastic cover on, so I suppose we'll go with that one first. So try and get a little flathead screwdriver and try and get it in underneath the clips to release them. So a little shout out there to Ian Matthews. I sent him a little gift there during the week. He's done a video on it. I sent him a little beanie cap to keep his head warm in that shed of his where he's doing his scrapping. So again, if you want to see stuff being scrapped out, he does some very good videos there, scrapping out everyday items. So we're right there anyhow, so we'll take that off. Okay, so first off here we have a little board with a few IC chips on it and some little gold connectors in here. It's very hard to see them, but there's little, you can see the little shine of them there. Around here, some gold connectors. So we'll take off this cover. So again, it's in Ian's channel. If you haven't checked it out, I'll put a description down, or put a link down in the description for you to have a look at his channel. Very good channel. Does a lot of scrapping, wash machines, dryers, everyday household items. Oh, what type of screw head is on that? Very small. But yeah, so give him a shout. Let him know if you haven't checked him out before, and let him know that you came from my channel, that I sent you that way, so that he knows that we're watching out for each other, keeping people going to each other's channels. Just so these screws are little determined ones. They don't want to come out too easy. This is my first time scrapping actually out of the car stereo. I never actually thought about a car stereo maybe having gold bearing material, but I happened to come across this one, so I said I'd scrap it out and see, because it's an old from an old vehicle. So it's just this one here that doesn't want to come out. So I'm just going to pause the video there while I remove this one that is determined not to come out. So I'll pause it, back in a second. Okay, so that screw finally gave way and we can get a bit more access to this. So there's something still holding somewhere, but I don't see no screws, so we'll just pull apart and see what happens, which didn't go too well. There's a weld just down here that's holding it, a little solder weld, so I just have to break it from there and we'll get that later. So a quick look on this side of the panel, a lot of LEDs, which each one of these little LEDs has a little gold bonding wire inside of them. So again, you can collect them up, use the heat gun to release them, collect them up, crush them up to release the little gold bond wire, and treat them with your nitric acid to dissolve the gold. In future videos you'll see where I'll do that. So other than that, there's not really much little gold there. A few IC chips, and we have the little LCD screen, which on this one is soldered on. So it makes it a bit more difficult to take off, but we'll take that off later. So this, as I said, was being held on here. So again, it's soldered on, so onto the volume. So that's all that was. It was just being soldered onto the volume control. I'll just try and get a little bit of access in here to see what's in underneath here. Nothing much, just a little switch which may contain a little bit of silver, but we'll leave that aside. Not really worth wasting a lot of time on. And we'll come back to the main unit. So now that I have the plastic taken off the front, is try and get access to this. So again, there's a few little clips here. We'll just bend these back to try and get a little bit of access in underneath the casing. Okay, so a little bit of steel, so I can put your shred. Now, and we're back into the screws. So I can see a little control board underneath here. This is where the heatsink was held on with. So I don't know what reason these must heat up these two units here must heat up. These are just like it looks like electrical connectors on them. There's no gold or anything on them. They're just electrical connectors. So we'll just remove some of the screws from this to try and get a little bit more access into this unit. This is your CD drive. This is where I inserted the CDs, played your CDs. So if I can get access in to remove this and see what type of board is underneath here. Is there anything worth so far? Very poor for gold recovery. Haven't found just one IC chip. That was about it, and a few little gold connectors. Nothing to write home about. So I need to get down further into the bottom of this. So we're going to have to move a few of these bigger screws in here. And actually we'll start at the front and try and get this front cover off. These are an odd size screw, heavy screwdriver head I'm trying, doesn't seem to get a good grip, but this one has that. So it's not the easiest scrap out. A lot of screws for what you're trying to get at. Okay, so this side is being held somewhere. Just bend that back a bit so we can try and get a little bit of access. So the main problem here is the screws are deep down here, so I'm going to just pause it for a minute, go get a longer screwdriver and try and gain access down deeper so I can get into these screws and try and release the deep screws in here. So I'll be back in a second. I'll just pause it there while we try and get these down in deeper to release them screws that are holding this whole unit to the base. So you can see where the screws come out here on the base. There's 4 or 5 screws coming out through the base, so we need to remove them to allow us to take this whole unit out. So I'll just pause it and I'll get the longer screwdrivers. Okay, so I've got my long screwdriver and I've removed a few of the screws already. I think we have most of them removed now that I can see. So it's just, hopefully this starts to pull apart a little bit easier. So we're getting a bit more access into it there. Of course there's one screw somewhere didn't want to come out, which is there. Okay, so a little bit of brute force. So always try and have a few long screwdrivers for this sort of job. So I see some nice IC chips actually down here, so at least there's something in it. For all the effort, we're getting a few IC chips anyhow, and this ribbon is no, it's not gold. Pity. So a lot of screws in a car stereo. Some copper here. I'm just having a look as I'm going along to see what I can see on it. Some little gold flashing. Now, take this ribbon out. So again, just tin plated. Could be silver, but I doubt it. But I'll do a test on that later. Okay, so we've got some little gold flashed connectors. So let's see, what else do we have to remove to get access? Seems to be it, so it should come out technically. But, oh yes, the little connectors here are welded to it, or soldered to it. So I have to try and remove them if I can. There we go. And same with this one. So that it might release it a bit easier. There we go. So eventually. So we're just left with a little bit of steel. So this is where our aerial connected in the car. That was our little RF or aerial connector. Again, that's a lot of soldering on this, which again you can use the heat gun to release all that solder, to release all the components off it. So a little link in there somewhere where I just use the heat gun. It's just a quick video to show you how you can use the heat gun to release these IC chips. You can also use the chisel method, where you just rub the chisel along the sides and they release your IC chips if you just want the IC chips and you don't want anything else off the board. Because on this particular model it probably wouldn't be worth using the heat gun, because all I'll be releasing is that IC chip, that IC chip, an IC chip, IC chips, flat packed ICs. The little gold connectors there, I'd probably just use a snips and just snip them along here to release them, or even the chisel might break them off. It's not really, we've a little 3 crystal oscillators, so I'll just pull them off with the pliers. That seems to be about really it. These connectors aren't gold. Take that off with the copper, again just use the pliers, pull that off. That's about it. There's not really much more I will take off this board, so I probably won't use the heat gun method, but if you did want to use the heat gun, you could do it. I don't see any MLCCs on it. I'll have a look under these to see what these contain, in case they contain a little gold in them. I'm not sure what they are, so if anyone knows what they are, please leave a comment in the video down in the comment section. The serial number on them is .22J63, so if anyone knows what they could be. And the little board says they are E8043s, whatever that means. So if anyone knows what that is, put a little comment below. If you see anything on this board that you take off, that you think is of value, let me know. Possibly a little bit of silver inside of here. That's about it. So, not a great board. A few IC chips, just add them with the collection of IC chips for future tear downs. On the back, it's just solder. There is nothing else. I was thinking it was looking good, because as you can see here, there's little gold flashes, little gold dots here and there on the board. But again, that could be just for, I might remove the solder mask from this board to see if there's anything underneath it, but it looks like it's copper. Yeah, it's just copper. You can see there the copper shining through when I removed it, so there's no need to do anything else on that board. So I'll just remove the IC chips off that board, that's it. On the drive itself here, we've got some more IC chips. Few IC chips, a few tantalums, very small tantalums, MLCCs, very small. But again, we'll remove that board from the actual, the drive itself, if I can get access to these little screws in here. So that removes that off it. So again, we'll just remove this little bit of steel. Okay, so again, more steel, more screws to add to the collection. You can throw them screws into a bucket, use a magnet to take out the steel ones. Some of them may be stainless steel, sometimes you get stainless steel screws, so keep an eye out for them, they're worth a bit more. Take out the stainless steel screws, separate them from the rest of the items. Yeah. Try and remove what I can see. So that's held on by two big springs, so we'll just remove that off if I can. Very strong springs. To try and get in under here if I can to remove this, so we'll have a look and see where we have more screws. Another screw over here. So, would I think there's much value in people buying old radios from car stereos and stuff for gold scrap? No, there definitely wouldn't be. It wouldn't be worth your time, your effort. I just do it just to see for myself. It's not really for any other reason. I get a few IC chips off, but I know that the time and effort, if I had to buy this stereo, it would have been a waste of time. So again, this board is going to be pulled apart anyhow, so no point in worrying about it. If I can't get access, just see can I get in under here. So I was hoping they'd be gold, but they're not, so that ribbon isn't really worth it. Try and release this clip this side. It seems to be holding the board here. If I can get in around it. There we go, that's it. Board off. So again, nothing really on the back side, and just an IC chip, another IC chip, some tantalums. This ribbon would be much the same as the other ribbon. It wouldn't have anything of value, I don't think, but we'll just pull them out and have a look. No, so again, he's not gold. So ICs, some small IC, a lot of tantalums, and there was some more tantalums here on this bit of the board that I broke away. Tantalums. And that's it, really. There's nothing really more. A few very small MLCCs, which would be probably not worth the effort of taking off the board. So I'll just remove the IC chips off this, and I'll remove the small tantalums because they're straightforward. So in the board, or in the radio, bit of aluminium, few very low grade boards, not really worth it, but we'll take the ICs when I've gone to this effort. A lot of steel. So again, on here, what's left now, there's another little low grade board underneath there, very low, so I won't go any further. Plastic, little copper bearing motor. So if you want to remove that for your copper, which I will, I'll just take that out and I'll add that to my copper connection. So that goes in with my copper motors, stuff like that. If she's straight, would she pop out, or does I have to go screwing at it to get it out? Yeah, I don't have to screw it out. There's a lot of screws, so again, I would probably just smash that out with a hammer, to be honest with you. I won't go too much effort to get it out. I'll just hit it with a hammer, break it out. There's no point wasting a lot of time on that, so I'll put that in with copper bearing motors. That's it, really. So thanks for joining the channel. Thanks for subscribing if you're a subscriber. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe, so you can keep up to date on latest videos, because when I start my gold recovery ones, people are waiting for me to do them. A lot of people are asking for them videos when they're coming, so them videos will be coming once the weather improves a bit, once it gets a bit warmer, because as I said, they have to be done outside, and I'll be doing them in a couple of stages. I'll be doing the breakdown of the material, and then I'll move to the stage where, because I was going to split into a lot of different videos, because it's a lot of info to be watching in one video. So we'd say the first video, we'll do maybe RAM chips or something like that, and I'll show you how we break down the RAM chips by incinerating them, crushing them until we get to a fine dust in the first video. Then maybe the second video, I'll show how we siphon off the fine dust to get it down to our base material, that we'll be using, so we'll be sluicing that. Probably I'm going to do a little sluice video on them, how they sluice that to end up with the gold and get rid of the other materials you don't want. And then the next video of that will be putting it in the acid to get rid of any of the other materials you don't want, such as the copper, the irons. They might have some iron, copper, lead, all them sort of materials that you don't want to get to pure gold. And then we'll do the drop where we're left with the gold gold dust or gold dirt. Then we'll do the smelting of it into a little bar. So we'll go from, maybe there might be 3-4 videos, that might be spread over 4 videos. So it'll be done in my playlist, so if someone wants to do it from start to finish, at least they can do it in stages. Watch how I done it in stages, the way I do it. Again, acids are quite dangerous when I start using them, so my advice is do not even attempt to go near it unless you are 100% sure of what you're doing, because when you're messing with acids you could kill yourself or kill someone else. So that's why I've done it before, and I know what I'm doing. And but even still, I will still take a lot of precautions when I'm doing it, and I would still be nervous doing it. It's not something that I'd advise to everyone, especially novices. It's quite dangerous, so I'm just doing it to show you. So again, if you're not sure of how to do it, maybe just collect up your materials, send it to someone who will do it. They'll take a toll from it, so they'll refine it and they'll take a cut for doing it for you. So in the United States, a lot of people will do that. So you can collect up your materials, you can do what I'm doing already, collecting up your boards, collecting up your chips, collecting up whatever else. You can send it to these toll refiners and they will refine it for you and send you back your gold or send you back cash, whichever way you preferred. A lot of people, the first time they do it, would prefer to get a little bit of gold. So they have a little nugget or a little bar. But after that, a lot of people just want the money. So what happens is the toll refiner will sell the gold and they'll take their percentage from it and send you back your cash or send you a bank transfer. So check them out if you're not sure about using the acids, which again, it's not for everyone, and I wouldn't advise it for everyone because it is quite dangerous and it can kill you or kill someone else. So that's why it's always advisable to do it outside. Have proper fume hoods if you're doing it indoors, in a shed or something like that. Have the proper precautions for spillages, stuff like that. So I will run through all that sort of stuff once I get closer to do my videos of what you need, your protective gear, what I'd advise you get. It's not going to be cheap if you're going to first time doing it, because you're going to have the proper respirators, you're going to have your fume hoods, you're going to have your acids, you're going to have your proper PPE, your proper clean up for, again, you can't just pour the material that's left over into a river or down a drain. You can't do any of that, so it has to be treated properly, so that you're not endangering the environment, stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff like that that you have to take into account when you're doing it. So it's not for everyone. So thanks for watching the video, and check out my rest of my videos. Check out my videos I put at the end, and I'll see you in the next one.